Look at me, who's here on the right day.
Hi.
Oh, what a day I had yesterday.
Well, sometimes those days happen.
Hi there, Bob. How are you?
I'm doing great, Gary. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
How was your
I'm trying to remember how to share my screen, so bear with me.
Happy New Year, Gary?
Happy New Year to you, too.
Can you see it?
For your information, Gary, I called Leah yesterday and told her the link wasn't working. She said it's not Wednesday.
That's probably a good reason it's not working.
It happens.
I forgot the last meeting. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss this one. Oh.
Hey, Bill,
Yes,
how are you?
not bad for an old man. You can hear me?
We can hear you.
Huh?
All right. You can't see me, right?
We can see
Oh, I
you.
can see you.
I was hoping to hide.
No way.
So we got a full board tonight.
We have 4 people so far. Jerry will be joining us shortly. I haven't heard from Mitch. Ajoy is now off the board, and we are waiting for appointment of a new board member. You
Okay.
and Gary and Bill are about to be reappointed, and then a new person will be appointed to replace Ajoy next week. Make it sense.
Mitch is planning on being here.
Okay.
So your year looks busy, Gary?
Oh, yeah. Yep, I'm down here in Atlanta right now.
You need to slow down. You're retired, right?
I thought so.
Well, when you're retired, you work harder.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. I mean, between Atlanta, the contract here, and then also with Lahaina working the fire, that has been a long-term thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how I did it when I was working,
Yeah.
farming and working. I'm working harder now than I did before.
I hear everybody that's retired say that.
You just have to make it at 2:00. You shut down for the day. Don't start another project. It'll be there tomorrow.
It's good advice.
Hey, Alan, Happy New Year.
Hey, Happy New Year. Feel like
Nice
it's been a
to
while.
see you. Yeah.
Glad to be here. It's going to be a fun new year.
Yeah, Jerry just texted me, said 6 minutes.
Okay.
Let's hold him to it.
Boy, he did a great presentation to Rotary last week.
Did he?
Yeah, he did.
What did he talk about?
Gary,
Oh,
gotcha.
He could have talked about his musical career being Sonny's stand-in.
Well, he can't carry a tune, can he?
Well, he looks like Sonny Bono, so
Yeah. No, he did a good job.
Good.
We have to give him a bad time.
There's Troy.
One thing is how we found out that the county is short about 14 or 15 officers and cars, and then some of those have to go into the jail and work because there are not enough people in the jail. And by
Oh, yeah.
mandate, they have to staff the jail at a certain level. And I think Hillsborough is about 14 down as well.
Yeah, that's the thing in every jail that's got to be mandated. And so you see them pulling out over here in Fulton County, Georgia, they pull them off law enforcement duty and put them right in the jail.
That's what they have to do, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, my brother's working 16 hours a day.
Mm. Yeah, Fulton County, they give them triple pay if they'll come into the jail.
Yeah.
Well, those are long days and not a fun place to work, but they can make bank right now.
So that's what he's doing.
Yeah.
So if I need to borrow money, I go to him.
Okay, Gary, while we're waiting for Jerry, our new Assistant County Administrator just joined us, Danny Ledsma. If you want to allow her to introduce herself while we're waiting for Jerry. Danny?
Oh, heck yeah, you bet. We would love to.
Hi, Chair Seidel. My name's Danny Ledesma. I'm so sorry. I'm not sure why my camera isn't working. It was working earlier in the day.
That's okay.
Tech support. Anyway, I'm smiling really big. I'm so happy to be here with you all. Thank you so much for your time and your service. As Leah said, my name's Danny Ledesma. I am an Assistant County Administrator, and I'm also our Strategic Planning Officer for the county. So in addition to strategic planning, I cover land use and transportation, economic development, our library system, and government relations. I've spent most of my career in public service. I just recently came from Portland Public Schools. I worked for Governor Kitzhaber and Governor Brown, and also worked at the city of Portland for quite some time, for over a decade, and for Commissioner Fish back in the day. So I spent a lot of time in like the affordable housing space, and housing and real estate development space. So very excited to be here and thrilled to work with all of you. And this is my first board meeting, so I'll be spending a lot of time listening and asking questions afterwards. So thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And with that,
We're glad
Gary,
you're here.
we now have Jerry is on board, and actually all board members are present and accounted for.
Good.
Wow, that's pretty good. Jerry, your 6 minutes that you told me was going to take you to get here was exactly 6. So you know what? This looks like to be your New Year resolution is to be on time.
It's early, Gary.
I'm impressed. All right, let's go ahead. We'll call the meeting to order. And this is the time where we also bring up public comment. As you know, we have 2 public comment sessions, one at the beginning, one at the end. If you choose to speak in the beginning one, you get 2 minutes per individual, and the communication period is 10 minutes long. If you'd like to be able to talk a little bit longer for 5 minutes, you can do that at the end, and that communication period is 30 minutes. Do we have anybody that would like to address the board?
Anybody that's with the public, would you please note by raising your hand in Zoom, and then I will open you for the ability to talk. Don't see anybody that's looking to talk to the board, Gary, so go ahead and
Okay.
move on.
Beautiful. We'll move into reports. And we'll start off with the approval of the October, November 2023 financial reports for fiscal year 23-24.
Great. Thank you, Gary. I will go ahead and talk about the financials a little bit. So first of all, I want to apologize a little bit. I'm just getting over being sick, and my voice is a little scratchy, and I'm still a little bit coughy and sneezy. So if I do cough or sneeze, I apologize in advance. But Bob and I just returned from the Western Fairs Association conference, where I feel like we get sick there every year. So we're just making it through. So we have our year-to-date financials there in the packet that was sent to you. I did send an updated packet to you all this afternoon, so I hope you all have that in front of you. I added the TLT, the transient lodging tax. Sorry, the transient lodging tax was applied to our account today. As you may remember from our last meeting, the finance department has been working on a transient lodging tax project, auditing those funds and such. And so we hadn't received our allocation. And when I got notification this morning that it had been posted to our account, I quickly went in and updated our financials. And actually, Jerry let me know that I had a couple cells that weren't calculating correctly. So I got those repaired. And so the corrected and accurate financials are in front of you. And I'm pleased that the TLT is there. When I know when transient lodging tax doesn't get put in there, sometimes board members get a little bit nervous about our financial situation, but things are looking pretty good. Overall, this is just a snapshot of the first half of our fiscal year. We're kind of going into that slow season over the next few months where, we will have very, very minimal expenditures except for personnel. So, but we really haven't had a meeting to talk about all of the financials for a while. So I'm certainly happy to entertain any questions that you may have.
Anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I do. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
This is Troy. Being new to the board for my second year, and I was wondering if we could have a face-to-face and sit down and just kind of, there's 51 line items on this. If we could just have an explanation so new people could understand the line items. Being on a board for 20 years, it was critical that we all understood what the finances were. And again, I'm new, so I'm asking a question. Is this something we could spend an hour and a half just going through and just discussing each one of the line items, not many, 51 or whatever it is, and having better light and knowledge on these line items?
That's a great point, Troy. I appreciate you bringing that up. You are brand new. You've only been on the board for a couple of months now, and we just haven't had a chance, Gary and I have not had a chance to meet with you in person and give you an orientation, which is something that we normally do for our Fair Board members. You just happened to get appointed at a time when we weren't really too available. So let's get you scheduled. Gary and I will meet with you, or if Gary's unavailable, Bill or Jerry or some other board members that have been around for a while, but we'd love to get you into the office, go over all this stuff. We also need to talk to you about bylaws and ORS 565 and some of those things that you just haven't been able to get up to speed on yet.
Well, I'm up to speed on those.
Great. We'll get you scheduled for that soon.
Troy, does that work?
Yeah, because I think it's real critical. And then, in the process that I'm used to doing, it's very critical that we have discussion. And I know that we're not doing face to face, but it might have to go in my opinion, and with discussion and questions that I have, it might mean that we do just sit together and scrutinize and evaluate and understand, even during the budget process, that we can, when we approve something and we're held accountable as board members, I can faithfully confidently vote yes or no.
Okay, beautiful. Then we will get that done. All right.
Gary, when do you get back?
I will be all back all next week.
Okay,
And then I got to come back here the week after that. And that's, I'll send you a list of all my available days.
great. That would be great.
After the meeting.
Thank
I have a
you.
comment.
Yes, go
All
ahead.
right,
So,
we're back to the financials. Anybody have a
when,
comment on it?
Again, so when I came on the Fair Board, I did have an orientation with Leah and Andy Dyke, but I'd be more than willing to be a part of a more breakdown of our financials and like a budget type meeting. So if I could be included in that when you guys meet, or maybe the whole Fair Board should get together in like a budget committee meeting and go kind of through the budget line by line to really know where the monies are coming from and going and changes. So
Certainly, we can schedule a work session.
Yeah, let's do that.
Sure.
It'd be good for everybody.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, and remember, we've got a new member coming on for AJOY as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. So
True.
that's a great point too, Jerry. We do have another board member that's going to get appointed soon, next week, I believe. So yeah, Gary, if you'll send me a list of your availability, and then I'll get everybody coordinated, and I think a financial work session's a great idea.
Beautiful. Okay. I'll give it to you as soon as we're done tonight. I'll send you a list.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, if that's going to be the case, Gary, if I could jump in here, I had, as usual, Leah, I'm sorry, your new information actually presented me with new questions that I did not have a chance to talk to you about.
That's okay.
So just let me give a quick observation of the new information, and then maybe we can hit the pause button on this. I'm assuming we don't have to adopt the budget that you presented tonight at this meeting. We can delay that a bit.
That is certainly up to you. I do have to turn the budget into the county on February 8th.
Okay.
Is that a budget for next year?
That's a budget for the next fiscal year, yes.
Yeah, 24, 25.
Yeah, it's earlier. I mean, it used to be that we didn't have to turn in the budget to the county until middle of March, and now we have to do it about a month earlier. So normally we would have several budget meetings. Your Fair Board would have several budget meetings that you would then approve before it would go to the county, but the times have really been shortened up.
Well,
Well, I
I think
understood that the budget
ahead, Bill.
meeting, the new budget that comes out, we read it, and then we can't vote on it till the next following meeting to prove it. Is that correct?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, we can approve it tonight if you want to, Bill, but I'm not going to recommend that. And also, Leah, again, to get a little bit more into the specifics on this, this does not have an impact on the general fund. It's a special fund.
Enterprise
So
fund.
I'm guessing that we could ask for an extension of time so that we could have our financial budget work session as a group and then come back and approve that. Because that'll be, again, our budget work session will be a public meeting. So so I think we can work around those guidelines a little bit and the demands on this, because I would agree there are some there's some questions I have about the proposed budget, and I don't think we're going to be able to resolve them tonight. I'd much prefer to communicate that to you, Leah, in an email, and then you bring that to our work session where we talk about it as a board. Am I okay with this, Gary? Am I getting ahead of the train here a little bit?
No, that's perfect.
It's certainly fine with me. I'm happy to ask for an extension on at least the Fair Board part of the budget submission. Danny's on with us, so I can certainly pose that question to her and the CFO by email tomorrow. We have done that occasionally. It's been a long time since we've had the Fair Board request an extension, but it's certainly something I can request.
Yeah, I'd like to think Greg won't have a problem with that. He's got plenty of other things that he's dealing with, and so that are of general fund nature. And since we are not spending general fund dollars, it doesn't really apply. So anyway, yeah, you and Danny take that up and with Greg, and I think that'll probably be okay. If I could just give you a little bit of insight as to my concerns with the new information you sent out today. And I'm talking about the proposed budget information, not the financials.
Well, let's stay with the financials first.
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks, Gary. Sorry. Okay, if that's the case, then on the current financial report, under the budget column, you show bottom line 2 million plus of revenue, 2,000,001 of expenses, and a $95,000 deficit. I don't think that's the budget we approved, and it's not consistent with the budget of the first draft that you sent out, where we approved a budget of $2,030,000 of revenue and $2,030,000 of expenses. So I don't know what happened in there, but I'm pretty sure we didn't have the conversation that we were approving a budget of a $95,000 deficit.
So you are correct, and we did have a discussion about it afterwards. So just like this year, last year we had a shortened budget budget calendar. So when you all approved the budget last year, it was, we did not have our updated TLT projections. We did not have our updated change from the internal service fund to the capital, or whatever the CIP, what do they call it? The cost allocation plan. We didn't have some of those final numbers from the budget office last year, because we were in the same timeline we are this year. And so we knew that there was likely going to be some changes, and I think that these are one of those things, those are funny things when we budget for a deficit. What we do is which we do occasionally, and you'll see that in the budget proposal here tonight, is that when the Fair Board budget expenditures exceed what we're expecting to receive in revenue, there's a subsidy that comes from the fairgrounds budget, which is comes out of the fairgrounds contingency. That's where our money ebbs and flows. Like when we have a really hot year and we don't meet our financial projections, that's where that money flows. And on years where we make money on the fair, again, it doesn't stay within our budget, it flows back into the fairgrounds contingency. So that was a conversation that we had last year.
Okay. So staying with the monthly financial report.
So that the budget line, the column that you see for budget, that is the accurate final budget line items that were approved by the Board of Commissioners last year, after all of the adjustments were made from the budget department.
So we did approve a $95,000 deficit.
Yes. For the
Okay.
fair, not for, I hate
Yeah,
the word
that's-
deficit. But you're right. I know what you're saying. It's because we won't end up with a deficit likely, but it's where the fair, we are projecting to lose money on the fair. That's what we budgeted for in the current fiscal year.
Okay, and I think that's why, I have asked, and realizing it's going to be a couple more months before we get it, but I've asked for a remodeling of our finances to be January to December, so we can see what exactly we did
Yes.
on the fair financially. So I'll hold off on that. Yeah, I guess I don't, on the financials, Gary, I don't have any other questions on
Okay.
that.
Anybody else have any questions on the financial statement?
Did we make money or lose money on this year's fair?
This year isn't over yet. So you'll see my projections on the next page. I'm projecting that we will lose around $10,000 for last year's fair.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion, we accept the financials then.
Okay, so Bob made a motion. Can we get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, the finance for October, November 2, 2023 has been approved then. Okay, let's go on to 4-H for Alan.
Hi there. Happy New Year, everyone. And Danny, I'm Alan Taggart. I am an assistant professor of practice with Oregon State University, and my job is 4-H. I get to lead the 4-H Youth Development Program for Washington County, and we've got a lot going on. We had a successful open house, and we are looking to break 400 in membership this year. And just for context, when I started, we were just under 200. So in 2 years, we've doubled our numbers, which is very exciting. And I still am a firm believer that the more families that realize what they can do with our organization, when they realize this is an option for their kids, that they will sign up. Our far and away most popular thing is archery, followed by all of our animal species. So we've got a lot of really cool things happening there. Speaking of animals, I was included on emails with the Livestock Association, who will not be doing weigh-ins at the fairgrounds. I don't know where they are going to be having their weigh-ins. I do plan on being there. And I don't know if there's more discussion or details that anyone else has in this group, but I just wanted to make sure we recognize that that will be happening not at the fairgrounds this spring.
So why is that, Alan? I always liked coming out there and seeing how the kids handle this, and I thought it was pretty cool.
So
that's a great question.
I can answer that question. It's the dates that they have for weigh-ins are days where we do not have staff available. So typically, or not typically, when we have events like non-paying events, like if 4-H wants to meet at the fairgrounds, they can only meet at the fairgrounds on days where we have a paying event where staff is scheduled. And the dates, I don't know if all the dates for the weigh-ins conflict. I know there's at least one where the weigh-ins will not be, I think it's the beef weigh-in, is not able to happen at the fairgrounds because we do not currently have an event scheduled where staff would be on site. And, we work closely with the Livestock Association. So if we get a paying event scheduled and they're able to have the fairgrounds, we communicate that. We do the same thing for 4-H.
But the fair board representatives act on behalf of the county staff and be responsible for anything going on down there?
No.
We generally have three guys from the fair board show up while we have the weigh-in.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to check with county legal, but I mean, it's keys and it's equipment and such like that the staff has to operate for the weigh-ins. Just like when we have 4-H there, we have to open buildings, we have to open parking lots, we have to turn on lights. There's things that the staff does. So this is very typical for for 4-H and the Livestock Association when there's because you aren't paying groups, and we are really operating at a very minimum amount of staffing. So we have not a lot of staff, and we can't schedule staff when we don't have paying events. So and that's been going on for quite some time. 4-H has been dealing with that for a long time as well. And as we get more events being booked at the Wingspan, especially now that COVID's over and events are really picking up, we're able to add a lot more dates, but not all dates work out for all groups.
Well, I want to expound on the weigh-in, especially beef weigh-in. Some of these kids, it could be a 2-year project to have an animal born at a certain time. So it's at a certain size by the time weighing comes in, and then have it ready for the auction at the county fair. So to change this, it's detriment to the kids. And this is also a learning experience for the kids. Now, kids have to have their animals gain 2.5 pounds a day to be choice at the county fair, and to put the weigh-ins back 2 or 3 weeks like it is proposed this year, then we have to change the formula and allow kids with heavier steers to come in the fair. So it kind of bothers me that we're moving things around, because the weigh-in's been for the beef for 60 years, the second Saturday of February.
And it's still going to be the second Saturday of February. I believe it's going to be happening at Glenn Spiesart's farm, and he's going to come and pick up the scale from us here at the fairgrounds on the Friday before.
Okay, well, okay.
You know, can I offer a little more insight on this too? I was contacted by George Saul with the Livestock Association on mid-February or mid-December, when he was going to put these dates in. The beef weigh-in is year in and year out, second Saturday of February. Hog weigh-in, second Saturday of April. And the sheep weigh-in is second Saturday of May. And at first he was told, and he followed up with, I know it's Lisa Dupre, I think was typically the one that would schedule these, dates to use the facilities. And is it Bob? Trying to think his last name right now. That was through, he said policies we can't use. George tried a number of different options to see how we can get access to the fair. The biggest thing really is just someone to open the gate in the morning and close it at, it's the weigh-ins from 8 to 10. I know Bill or myself or possibly Gary, any of us would be probably gladly to volunteer to do that. I understand that we're not staff, but we're, as fair board members, I'm trying to find a solution that this works. I'd like to view our exhibitors as partners in our fair. I think like Alan has done a great job bringing 4-H and growing that program. And instead of trying to accommodate, it seems like they're met with roadblocks. These dates, they've had these same dates for, like Bill said, 60 years. And it seems like between our board that we could come up with a solution that we could still use these dates at the fairgrounds and moving the scales. And I know the option would be to move the scales to a different site, and it's not very accommodating. It's very difficult. All the facilities are here. I also was told one of those dates there was staff. There was a gymnastics event going on that same day, and that's the way I recall it last year, that same Saturday. So there was one day they said they couldn't use it because there was an event going on and they wouldn't have staff to do it, or whatever the reason was. And the other dates were because there was no events going on, there's no staff. So whether it's, and that staff, again, 25% is what I understood of their salaries of a lot of that staff is paid from the fair budget. Now, is there a way to flex some of that time? And if it's not paid time, to allocate overtime for someone to do that, or just accept one of us fair board members as a volunteer to come in and check out a key to open a gate Saturday morning and lock the gate Saturday afternoon and return the key. It seems like it would be pretty easy to find a solution to this if we wanted to find a solution to it, instead of, and it's very, I know historically there's been strife between the exhibitors and the fair management and the fair board, but trying to find some common ground where we can meet everyone's purposes and needs. I just don't understand why that is so difficult.
Leah,
If
could
it's
we,
on, if it's
could we
on the
see if we
same
could do
day,
that?
if it's on the same days, as I understand, there are two things here. But one is it was going to be a different day, so it's going to be the same day, but just a different location at one of the farms.
Yes, that is what I'm told.
Why that's inconvenient is because everything at the fair is already set up. They come in, they got a line of trailers. There's not enough room. You'd be backing trailers up onto public roads probably to get
Okay,
onto.
thank you.
to
I
the
just couldn't picture that. Thank you.
It's already set up, and all we need, and I will say, it's the staff involvement is minimal. It's amount of putting some panels out. The people that do the weigh-ins, the beef is probably the most because beef are bigger animals. They have to move a bunch of panels around and do that. But the Livestock Association does all that labor. The hog weigh-in is a lot simpler because the hogs are just wiener pigs at, 60 pounds. They're easy to handle. Alan, I mean, most of the Fair Board members, I know, Jerry, you were there last year when we did the hog weigh-in. It just flows. Everyone's lined up. We move through, we grab hogs, and it's gone. It's a central location in the county for all the participants to come. It's just consistent with what's been done for the last 40 to 60 years. These dates haven't changed at our end, and all of a sudden they're told no. And it's frustrating, it's aggravating.
So Mitch, if I could jump in and just, and Gary, I'm sorry, I don't mean to get ahead of you here as chair. Why don't we hit the pause button on this, and let's find out what options we have available to see if there's maybe something we could do with this. I'm in agreement. I think it should be at the fairgrounds, but at the same time, there may be things that I don't know. Probably a lot of things that I don't know about that. So, if we could just hit the pause button on that, Alan, I'm assuming that if we could figure out some way to do this, we could pivot and have it back at the fairgrounds.
Yeah, well, and just to be clear, this is the Livestock Association's thing, but 4-H definitely, we have all of our participants doing that with the Livestock Association, so we are connected, but it's not. So yeah, so the answer would be yes. I'm sure that we could pivot if that was an opportunity.
Well,
Yeah,
so
Leah,
Chair and Leah, would that work?
Yeah, check, Leah, could you see if it's okay for Fair Board members to be able to open up?
I can certainly check on that. Yes.
Okay.
So, Jerry, just one question is there, I know that the superintendents haven't been notified yet of the change as of Friday. And Livestock Association, they were hoping by this fair meeting, they can get a resolution that they could use on the 15th. I realize that's coming up. It's less than a month out, but it would be, if we could kind of put a deadline on this when we'll have an answer, that we could still maybe make the 15th of February work, or the second, if that's second Saturday of February work for this beef weigh-in, and then certainly, obviously moving on to the spring of April and May weigh-in dates.
The Livestock Association was going to have a dinner Saturday night, but that's been canceled because of the storm coming in. But the announcement was going to be made that night of which way we're going to go. So hopefully we can support the kids, Fair Board wise, fairground wise, 4-H wise, to make this happen.
Leah, can we see if we could get it done by next week, Wednesday?
Yes. I will certainly send out some messages and see what we can figure out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. A couple last things. So horse fair. So we are going to do the same thing that we did last year. Unfortunately, with the arena the way it is currently, we are going to have the horses there during the fair, the full participation where they're getting all their classes done, showcasing with their horses will be done at Yamhill County Fairgrounds for 2024. And then during Washington County Fair, they will be coming and showcasing just like they did this. And that was very successful. But we also recognize there is work to be done. There's like a warm-up arena that's going to be built when the fencing is completed. That there's a watering system that needs to be figured out. So again, that is the current plan for 2024 for Horse Fair. The next thing I wanted to throw out there, Michael Bradley, who is the consultant that Leah hired, he came and talked to all of the superintendents. And when I met with him, he was asking me a bunch of things, and then we were talking about, so Western Idaho Fair, where I came from, we were talking about different things that different fairs do. I just wanted to put a bug in y'all's ear of outreach to school districts, because I have heard feedback of like open class, like people come to the Cloverleaf are like, okay, where's all the adult exhibits? It's like, okay, that's over there. You have to go back to the Wingspan. So if there's any interest in marketing for more static exhibits or like partnering with 4-H and we're kind of advertising to schools like, hey, you're doing this research project for your class, enter it in the fair. Like you were making this poster. And that's something that I talked about with Bob Batista and the Fair Board in Boise, Idaho, when I was there. And we started getting some stuff off the ground, but then I came here. So that just made me think of that. And I just wanted to throw that out there. But I do recognize that there are budget constraints. And so if that is of interest and doing some more outreach specifically about fair and like kind of advertising, hey, come enter exhibits, I would be interested in collaborating on that. Any questions for me? Well, thank you. And I'm sure we'll see each other again soon.
Hey,
Yeah,
Alan, I just
before-
want to reiterate the fact that what a great job you're doing. And I know that there's a lot of work that goes on, but it's very, very evident for anybody that participates during the 10-day fair, and especially during our breakfast pancakes. You're doing a great job. So keep up the good work.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being there. And, maybe I need to have you guys be our active participants in leading some songs and activities. Maybe we can incorporate that this next, because I'm shaking head.
I want to
No,
lead
but-
some songs.
Let's do it, Bob.
All right.
Bob can sing and Gary could do the push-ups.
Well,
And
no,
the senior
seriously
guy
though.
will watch.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your support, and we're excited for another fair.
All right. Good job, Alan.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to the proposed fiscal year 2024, 2025 budget. Now's the time, Jerry.
Well, no, I'm going to let Leah lead off, and then I'll make a couple of comments.
Great. So just knowing that we're now going to have a work session, which I think is absolutely great. We haven't done a financial and budget work session for a lot of years. So I'm kind of a budget and financial nerd. I like to talk about line items and increases and stuff like that. So to invite you over to Wingspan and talk about that kind of stuff, that's super exciting for me. So I'll get that scheduled. But in the meantime, this is the proposed budget that I put together. It's very consistent for the budgets you've seen in the past. Not too many changes other than I just feel like every time we get a bid or we get RFP back with results for contracts for the fair, everything is just going up, 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 up. I jokingly, but it's not really a joke, I tell staff like everything is 20% higher, but then really everything is coming in just about 20% higher. So our revenue is based on mostly actuals from the 2023. And I do want to just shout out to Jerry. Jerry asked this morning if there was any way we could stop doing a budget to budget comparison, like one year to the next, and add in projected actuals. And at first I was like, yeah, I'd love to do that. And I don't think I can get it done today. But then I decided I wanted to get it done today because I really, really like that idea. So you'll see that change. That's something new for you all, is to see the proposed budget, the projected actuals, and then the adopted budget from from the current fiscal year. So you can see it's a little bit easier to compare. I thought that was a great suggestion. So thank you, Jerry. I know it makes it actually easier for me instead of going back and forth from financials to the actual budget document. So a lot of our, a lot of everything is based upon what we did last year, and knowing that we've got some increases. We do have some increases that we're expecting from a revenue standpoint. Our last year, our carnival implemented what they called a fast pass system on a couple of their rides. We were a test fare for them to see how it worked. And the good news, it worked out really great. It made things more efficient. It cost them less money, and it provided more money to us as part of their contract. So they're going to implement that for all of their rides next year. And that is going to expect to make us a little bit more money. And usually when we increase money in carnival, people tend to stay longer on site and eat a little bit more food and buy a little bit more drinks. And then the carnival also sells food and beverage, so we're anticipating a revenue bump from that. We are redoing our layout, and we are going to be adding some additional outdoor commercial booths, and making some changes where we're going to be doing a few cuts outside from tents and entertainment, but trying to increase where we're generating revenue and cutting where it makes sense, because we are having a lot of cost increases. Security is going up about 20%. The Washington County Sheriff's Department and HPD are telling us they're going to have cost increases. I'm still waiting on the Sheriff's Department budget. We're all in the same county, so they're doing the budget at the same time we are. So I'm waiting for final numbers on what they think their increases are going to be this year. All of our bids coming in from janitorial and sanitation and porta potties and all that stuff is all coming in about 20% higher. And entertainment acts and stage sound lights are all coming in higher, and we're really doing our best. Entertainment is the only place that we are allowed to negotiate, where everything else we have to go out to bid. Oregon state law allows us to negotiate on entertainment. So we have asked all of our proposed entertainers that we're trying to work with this year to really go back and sharpen their pencils. We would love to have them here in Washington County, but we really do need to be mindful of our budget. So we're waiting to see how some of those numbers come back in. And great news for Allen that they went from under 200 from just a couple years ago to 400 for their numbers now. But when we have more people, it costs more money to host. So there's going to be some increased costs for 4-H and FFA. And then labor. Every year you guys hear me say that labor costs us more money, and this year is not going to be different. Especially our certified flaggers. We are required from the city of Hillsborough to have certified flaggers on our roadways, and they are very, very expensive. And we're anticipating an over 30% increase from our bid documents from our certified flaggers. And then last but not least, my favorite subject, and I'm sure Jerry and Danny hear this from every department, is that county indirect charges are going up. And for you all, it's going up, I think 36% this year. So lots of increases. So that's just the mantra for the budget is increases. So we're really trying to be mindful of where we can be make cuts that make sense and really tighten our belts where we can, increase revenue as much as possible. And that's kind of the name of the game for the budget this year. And when we have a work session, we can do a very deep dive on where every bit of the money comes from and how it gets spent.
If I could make a suggestion for our budget work session, if anyone who has any questions about specific items, to please communicate those to Leah in advance. So we go into that meeting, she's got all the information of the concerns, and we can get some things done there. And it's, it's a complete package versus the surprise scenario. So that would be my request, and that's certainly what I will be doing as well.
I appreciate that, Jerry. It's much better for me to be able to answer your questions if I know what they are. And that is all I have for budget for tonight.
Any questions?
And I will check in with Greg, our county CFO, and our budget team tomorrow, just to see if I can delay the Fair Board portion of the budget submittal.
Okay, seeing no questions, we will move on to board elections. Every year, our bylaws state that we have to, in our January meeting, we have to be able to do an election of board officers. Those two officers are the president and the vice president. As far as the secretary position, that is filled by a county person, staff person, to be able to handle that. And so the first position to be filled will be that for president. And we will open up the floor for nominations for president.
I'd like to nominate Troy Sabalas for president.
Okay, seeing Troy being nominated.
As much as I'd like to support that, Mitch, Troy's got 2 months under his belt. I think he's just needs a little bit more experience to that. So let's put him in the queue for training.
Yeah, I'd nominate that Gary continue on.
I would second that nomination.
Are there any other nominations?
Troy, you okay with that? I don't want to,
I mean, I do have experience of being on a board. Am I okay with it? I've been here all last year and part of this, so I don't know what you mean by 2 months, but yeah, obviously I've been through the bylaws. I understand how Robert's rules work. I understand budgets. And I will, after this is done, have some questions about housekeeping. So I'm okay with that. I need the confidence of everybody here to assume that position. Am I ready? Everybody's ready. But if it's the board feels I need more experience, that's fine. And that would be strictly experience dealing with a fair environment.
Is there anything in our bylaws that disqualified Troy?
No, there wouldn't be. So we can, Troy will be put on the ballot and we'll also put myself up on the ballot.
I think Troy's nomination needs a second, Chair.
Okay. Pushing the hand on the
Or
Yeah,
Me too. Mm.
yeah, I'm down.
CIC 2. Is that correct?
Is there anybody else having trouble finding the hand button like I did?
Yeah, I am.
It's under other, or it's under more. That's where mine is.
Okay, if you can't find the hand button, again, go ahead, raise your hand next to your face and keep it up.
Do they see you?
All I can see is the top of Bill's head. I can't see his.
Bill, is your hand up? Can't see it.
Say yes or no.
Yes.
Okay, so we have 3 for Troy. Go ahead and get rid of your hand buttons and we'll go ahead and make the vote for Gary Seidel. Mitch can't vote twice.
Oh, I didn't.
You did, so I don't know how to use them.
Mitch, your hand's still up.
I know, I'm trying to figure out how to, boy, it'd be nice to have these meetings and there we go.
Yeah.
Lower hand. There it goes.
Okay, so we have 3 and 3.
That's why you don't have an even number of board members.
I was just
Yeah.
gonna say that.
That's why we have one that's in the queue, but not approved as of yet.
So I don't know what the bylaws say about this part
Yeah,
of
I
the
haven't seen
process.
what it says regarding a tie.
Yeah, so
Just a minute. I'm looking.
I'm pulling him up too.
Okay.
I don't know how to fix it. I don't think that's them.
Voting is in section 8 and it does not cover anything of a tie vote.
Yeah, I've never seen a tie vote, so Leah?
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. There's nothing about tie vote. I mean, the only other thing we can do is wait until we have another
The
board
additional
member
member.
approved.
We can do that.
so okay, can we make a motion to extend this election until the next board meeting, which would be in March? Is that correct?
So moved.
Yeah, the next meeting's in March. I don't see why you can't. I mean, the bylaws say at the first meeting, but I mean, I would assume that you guys can make changes to that when you need to. I can check with
Yep.
county council.
Okay, then we'll get a motion to extend to March to go ahead and then vote for the officers for the Fair Board.
I'll make a
Yeah.
motion that we extend until March and vote for the 2 positions.
Roger that.
Second.
Okay, you got a second on it? All in
Yes.
favor? Signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anybody voting in abstention of it? All right, board elections will be moved to March. Are there any other new business?
Yeah, Gary, I have some, but I think it's probably it's kind of housekeeping. I have some questions that I wanted to ask about our bylaws and our process and procedures. I could probably do that under other matters.
We can do that either now, because that does work here, or it can go into other matters, whatever you so
Okay.
choose.
So I took initiative to educate myself on the, on the bylaws, the Washington County Fair Board strategic plan. I've been through one fair. That was this year, right? So I was on the board at the beginning of last year, or the beginning of this year. Attended the fair. I'm obviously a 4-H'er and was a presenter at the fair. So I have a very vested interest in this whole program. I've spoke to a couple people on the board about my interest on this board and doing whatever I can for the fair to make it as successful as it is right now. And so as a board member and reading through the bylaws and stuff, I was questioning. I questioned a couple board members, but the overall purpose and authority of the Washington County Board in Section 1 was to oversee the planning, preparation, and production of the county fair. And in my mind, being on a board like I have been for the last 20 years, this requires a lot of, well, not maybe a lot. This is a 10-day venture that we're looking at and planning and producing and approving. In my recent experience, you know, with an $800,000 budget, there was 26 meetings that were held, board meetings that had discussions about protocol, procedures, and process. And I haven't felt that on this board. I want to be a proactive member of the board with a voice, and I'm just trying to understand what the proper protocol is. And I'm again just asking a question, because if I walk around the county fair with my county fair board name tag on, and somebody was to ask me a question, I would love to be able to answer that question with education from our board meetings, with making motions, seconds, discussions, and everybody agreeing to anything that happens at that fair. Because I am a proactive person. I want to be part of the success and be part of the voice. And that's why I looked into this when I had discussions with Leah about this board, and I am done everything I can for the nonprofit that I've been at for the last 20 years, and I'm looking for a new adventure. And I just want to understand. I don't want to come in here because I am new and try and change anything, but more so understand what it is. I mean, if you look through the county strategic plan, we as a board have a lot of obligations that we are responsible for, but yet have very little discussion about changes, decisions of how the fair planning, preparation, and production is. And so I think as Washington County Fair Board members, we should have an understanding together that if any one of us were in any location and was asked any question, we would all answer it the same way. So, and then this is just from my process that I've been through. And so I just was basically wanting to understand. And again, I don't want to change anything. If there's some kind of protocol, some kind of thing that it's just the way things go, then I'll accept that. But I do really care about what's going on here, and I really do care about having educated votes when we make votes.
I've been on the fair board for a long time, and I don't think I've missed any fairs. And I can't recall being asked any question that I couldn't answer. So I'm not sure what it is that you wouldn't have an answer to, Troy. I'm curious.
I guess when I look at some of the budget items or anything like that, when we have partnership with vendors or FFA or 4-H, just understanding, you know, if there's 167% increase in income on camping, or if there's a 267% increase on expense for individuals that are, you know, supporting the fair, just understanding these things, that's all. And I know that we are going to we scheduled a workshop to go over the budget and you know, obviously have these questions answered so that we can all understand. We are
that probably would solve a lot of your questions at the budget. You know, at the budget meeting, I think that would pretty much If you're talking about where the money goes and people asking you questions on the budget, that's fine.
Well, and then again, to oversee the planning, preparation and production of the county fair. Where is our part in that? I'm just curious.
We have people that do that for us.
But we're not part of the decision-making process and we don't get to have discussion or vote on any of this stuff. That's all I'm asking.
Specifically, what I don't understand specifically, what is it you want to participate in that you're not participating in?
All the planning, preparation and production of the fair. I mean, we went to Redmond for the fair convention. There was a lot of information shared there about E. coli and how we deal with that and the planning. And I know that there's already a strategy plan in place, but can it be scrutinized? Can it be better? Can it be changed? Can we get the public closer to the displays with some kind of a protocol in place that was discussed at the convention?
Okay, I'm gonna shut this down on this. We will get into that when we get into the orientation. Leah talked about that. We didn't give you an orientation last year as we had other things, and we apologize for that. But a lot of it comes in that you're going to be able to see and answer as you're on the fair board for a number. Doing as well as dealing with financials. All right, let's move on to the county administrator update.
So Danny, this is the time that normally the county, the ACA gives an update on just what's going on generally in the county that may or may not be applicable to the fair board. I don't know if Danny's still on, or if you have anything that you want to talk about, but that is usually this time where we just give our ACA a time to just give the fair board a briefing on what's going on in county government.
You're muted, Danny.
Zoom is being really weird right now, so hopefully she can.
Just send her a chat message.
There was a message. She just left. She might be having trouble, so she'd probably try and log back on again.
Okay. All right, Leah, we'll go ahead and move on if Danny comes back on.
Oh, here she's coming back on now. Hold on. There we go.
Apologies, I'm having some technical difficulties. I just have a quick update. So the first thing I wanted to let everyone know is that the county government is engaged in a strategic update process. And so one of the things that we'll be discussing at the roundtable tomorrow will be basically the Board of Commissioners approving and discussing what will be a final draft that will go out to the public around this update of the county's strategic planning efforts. And so you'll see that there are several sections that over the last 3 roundtables, the Board of County Commissioners have discussed and engaged in conversation in. And the hope is that tomorrow we'll get a sort of thumbs up from Commissioner Willie and his colleagues to then engage into a month-long of community engagement. Ask folks to review and to see if there's any comments. I'll be sure to send out to you a link that allow you to review what has been done up to date, and then in late February, the board will have a work session where they hear back from staff about the feedback from community, and then hopefully move towards an adoption at the end of February. Want to remind everyone that this is a really high level update that's meant to be a snapshot of the work that's going on in county government, with the hopes that in another 5 years we'll do a pretty widespread community engagement process. So this is really kind of post pandemic, trying to build and sort of restore services and capacity. Kind of where are we now and where are we going? So we'll be sure to share that with folks. The other thing I wanted to allude to is that there is a budget schedule that will be coming out, and so at the roundtable tomorrow, the Board of County Commissioners will give some final guidance on and approval on some elements of the budget process. The budget calendar is getting published, and like you heard Leah said, we are asking all of the different departments to turn in their budgets in early February to begin that process of review, refinement, and hopefully adoption in late May. So we'll make sure to get that out to you. And I am really excited about the fact that you'll be, having a work session where you can get a little bit more information about the proposed budget that you have before you, and you can get some good conversation there. I'll work with Lee and our finance team to see how we can make the schedules work. So I think that's it for now, and look forward to the next time we're together. Thanks so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Danny. Any questions for Danny? Is there any other?
I just have one thing, and that is your annual joint meeting between the Fair Board and the Board of Commissioners is scheduled for February 20th at 2:30 in the afternoon. Location is still to be determined. Not sure if it's going to be at Wingspan or if it's going to be down at the Public Services Building. I'm working with Clerk Moss on that, but please add that to your calendar and save the date.
Okay. This is the time of the meeting where we have the second oral communication period. Is there anyone that would like to address the board that needs
any members of the public that would like to speak, could you please raise your hand so I can turn on your mic? Seeing none, Gary.
Okay. Perfect. With that, we will go ahead and get a motion to adjourn. Next meeting will be March 6th, 4:30.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Can we get a second?
Second.
Not a second? Okay. Then we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.